Thank you for joining me. We are back for another day text. Today is Tuesday, February 5th. I thank you all for joining me. Yesterday I want to point out, for some reason I put the day text date as February 3rd, but it was actually February 4th, so I changed that on yesterday's day text. And then, before we get into the text for today, let me give a brief update on the Saturday CW Jaw Talk show. So, at this point, I'm not sure if I'm going to have everything ready by this Saturday in terms of the clips that I want to use as part of the show. And as I'm going through the material, I'm working on it. It seems to me that I'm probably going to have to do more than one part, a multi-part series, maybe even an ongoing series based on the fact that, of course, Ancient Aliens, the TV series, has a number of seasons. It's still ongoing. And, of course, we find things new all the time that often get associated with either ancient alien theory or biblical history. So, more than likely, this is going to have to be an ongoing series. But I'm still trying to figure out if I can get enough clips for one specific show. I can always come back later and do another part, but I'm not certain yet whether or not I can get everything done and contained in one show. So I'm working on that, but at this point I believe I will probably have to do a multi-part series, maybe even an ongoing Ancient Aliens and Christianity series, something like that. The title on the first show will set the tone for the series. And then so I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing the show this Saturday, because if it takes me longer to get the clips and to determine how I want the series format to be like, then I'm not going to rush it. So I'll give you another update tomorrow, and then for sure Thursday I will know if this Saturday is going to have a show, or if I'm going to use this coming weekend to finalize everything I need to have ready for the first Ancient Aliens and Christianity show, and then also the way I want to handle the future shows, either do them consecutively going forward or space them out over the course of time. So stay tuned tomorrow or Thursday. By Thursday I will know for sure if I'm going to go ahead with a show this Saturday. Maybe I'll even do a different topic if I don't have the Ancient Aliens material ready. So bear with me another day or two while I determine exactly what's going to happen this Saturday. But I'm working on getting the Ancient Aliens show together. So it'll be a live show where we will talk like we normally do on Saturday. And then I will have the views split at times so we can watch these clips from the series that Ancient Aliens I'm going to show. And then we'll talk about them as it pertains to how they see many of the ancient historical references and accounts involving visitations and things in the Bible, and then what the Bible actually has to say, as well as what other cultures say as far as it relates to ancient alien theory. So a lot of good stuff is coming. It just may take me a little bit longer to get it all ready, and so we can have a quality discussion. So we'll give some further and final updates on this Saturday, tomorrow, and then Thursday. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to today's text, which is from Hebrews 2:16 through 18. I'm going to pull it up here, and then we will get started. As you know, we have been in the book of Hebrews for the last couple of weeks, and then I also... Excuse me one second while I get this list here. If you need more information about the letter to the Hebrews, I provided in the first video 4 day texts involving the letter to Hebrews. So we've only done a couple since I had a few events that got in the way of some of our day text meetings. But if you want more information on the book itself, go ahead and go back to the first video, and then I will try to provide additional information as it's relevant as we move through the rest of the letter. So, okay, we're in chapter 2, And I'm going to read verses 16 through 18. And then we're going to make a brief application and we'll be on our way. Okay. Hebrews chapter 2, verses 16 through 18 reads, "For Jesus does not lay claim to what belongs to angels. Instead, he lays claim to what belongs to the seed of Abraham. Therefore, he was obligated to be made like his brothers in every way, so he might become a compassionate and reliable priest leader when it comes to things involving God, such as helping obtain forgiveness for the sins of the people. Indeed, the fact he has endured while being tested shows he can help those being tested." So it's very interesting here when he points out in verse 16 that Jesus' focus is different from the angels, even though I'm sure that they all observe things together in ways where they have desires with regard to God's will as it involves all things. But what he lays claim to is the seed of Abraham. And this is very important because, as we've talked about before, Jah's choice of Abraham from the land of Ur in Mesopotamia, which was just discovered about 100 years ago, but the Bible knew it was there for thousands of years, and we didn't know until just last century. That's how reliable the Bible is in the biblical records. It describes real history, real places, real people that doubters today at times made light of simply because they were ignorant of what the Bible was talking about. Be very careful who you listen to today. People will say things and do things and they have no idea what they're talking about most of the time. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we say things and we're not really sure, but I've learned enough about these subjects to know that when I'm talking to a person who really doesn't know anything about what they're saying, or not enough to be saying what they're saying, it depresses me because I realize how deceived so many people are. We all can be deceived, I know that. But again, if you have knowledge and understanding of certain subjects, it's much easier to see when other people are deceived, as long as you recognize in yourself the things that could be deception. So if you've evaluated yourself and you have clear mind, you can see. Remember what Jesus said, remove the straw from your own eye. Then you will be able to see how to remove the remove the rafter from your own eye, large piece of wood. And then you will be able to see how to remove the splinter from your brother's eye. So it's very important for us to be able to self-adjust and improve our ability to see things clearly before we try to help other people see things clearly. Otherwise, we could both be deceived or end up not helping someone at all. Okay, and so the things that he lays claim to are with the seed of Abraham, and this is why when we read about in the New Testament and the Old, the angel of Jah protecting the Israelites, that was Jesus. It says that Jesus was the one who was following them. And it says right here that he's the one who laid claim to the seed of Abraham. Well, if that doesn't belong to the angels, then the angel who was with them was Jesus. He's the one laying claim to them. Why would another angel be involved unless Jesus was using them as part of his involvement to the people he was laying claim to? That's why Jesus said to the Jews, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often I wanted to gather together you people, the way a hen gathers her chicks, but you didn't want it, and you rejected the Son. So not every Jew did, as a nation, as a people at that time. So this shows that Jesus' association with the Israelites goes way back, and to the time of at least Abraham, when God chose him as the one through whom he would bring about a people that he could use to develop the body of his Son, that would then be given in sacrifice to Jah to cancel out the debt that Adam gave to every single one of us. And that's the simple message of the Bible. From Genesis to Jesus, it's all about the same thing. It's about Jah giving humans life, the ability to live, for us to choose, and then be accountable for what we do. But when we do things that are against Jah's will for no reason whatsoever, and we pass that on to our children, we corrupt the earth, and we bring into it a condition that we were not designed to do, but that we are capable of doing. And so Jah's solution to dealing with this is to not override our choices or to destroy us completely and start all over again, because then the same thing could just happen all over if he allows Satan to interact with people again to test the conditions of the earth. So we have to get through this. And Jesus is the one who gave us the opportunity by coming to do the things that Adam failed to do. That's why he's called the last Adam, 1 Corinthians 15:45. And that's why it also says in verse 17 here in Hebrews 2, he was obligated to be made like his brothers in every way. Just like Adam, the perfect man without sin, because of Jah's overriding of Mary's seed, even though in that case it would seem like the sin may be passed on from the father, although the mothers obviously are sinful too. We don't know to what extent the actual reproductive process is the determining factor of which parent's sin is passed on to the children or how that exactly works. But we do know that Jah made use of Mary's egg and was able to develop it into the body of his son, and so not allow any of the tainting of the sin that would have come through Mary's family or Mary's line, even from David, to affect his son. So Jah made sure that he gave his son the right body, just like he gave Adam the right body, in order to be able to deal with the things that he made us to encounter on the earth. And of course, at Jesus' time, the earth is much different than when Adam was created. And so the body that Jesus had to have was one suitable to the world in which he came, developed through the line of people like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, all these people, David, that we read about and who performed great acts of service and faith toward Jah, just like Jesus did eventually. And so he endured all of these things. He not only was able to give us the means by which we can have a relationship with Jah, apart from the law of Moses, but he also now has been tested in ways that as a human being, he can relate to us and understand even our sin, because it's something that they're not really, holy beings are not here to tolerate disrespect towards their laws or ways by the creatures they made. They're tolerating us because of the type of creature we are, like a child to them. In the same way that a parent tolerates his child or her child that does something wrong, even terrible. We don't just throw the child out. We may become upset. We may have to discipline the child to help it, though. It's all done out of love. And so in the same way, these beings who are very holy beyond us in ways they cannot tolerate the bad things we do, they work with us, punish us to try to help us to become better. And so in Jesus' case, he had to go through conditions on the earth that even though he was perfect, the environment is not perfect. The environment is much worse than what we had in the Garden of Eden. It was much better. You did have spirit beings like Satan who still came to Jesus during his time. So the challenges he was facing were far greater than Adam and Eve. He had the devil directly dealing with him. He had all of the imperfections of society in which he was born in, the society in which he was born into, and of course the people, including his family, who rarely really understood what was going on. They knew there was something special, obviously, from the accounts. But even then, it must have been very difficult for them to fully appreciate who Jesus was and why he was doing all these things and what was going to happen as a result. Eventually they found out and realized. But when these things are actively happening, they're not so simple. They're very difficult, and it's easy to overlook certain things. And so they didn't always appreciate what Jesus was doing. But nonetheless, he was able to endure all of that. Lack of faith by his family, his associates, everybody abandoned him at the end. So he knows. He knows not only from an observational perspective, having been here since the beginning, having helped the Israelites leave the land of Egypt, enter into the promised land, and then come to them in flesh. So he has done all these things. There's no one more qualified than God's Son. And he's shown that. He didn't come down like the sons of God did before the flood and establish these great monuments like at the sunken city in Yonaguni, or other places like Lake Titicaca, or in Egypt, where certain potentially pre-flood structures were erected as monuments to those beings, not to Jah. Jesus didn't do anything like that. He didn't come down and create a separate community and establish these massive monuments and proclaim himself as an entity on earth to be reckoned with. He only came to do Jah's will. That's it. And so he's so much different from every single one of those pre-flood sons of God that were punished and or disallowed from continuing their ways on the earth. Every single thing Jesus does is exactly what we would expect God's Son to do in coming to people who were made like me and you, flesh. That's not what the sons of God before the flood did. They came down and created great violence. And as we can see from the monuments and structures that they either built or forced others to build, they were not trying to cultivate the earth in a way that would allow people to benefit freely from the things that their Father made. So there's a huge difference between Jesus and the angels, both the good angels and the bad angels, because the good angels are there to serve Jah, and they did not do the things that Jesus did, and so he's different and better than them because he's inherited a name above theirs, like Hebrews says, Hebrews 1:4. And the first chapter of Hebrews discusses the different things that God did to the Son, the firstborn, that were not true of the angels, the other angels, the sons of God, who were created after the firstborn. Nevertheless, they're all spirit beings who exist in Jah's realm and who have the choice, like you and me, to do their own will or to follow the will of the one who made everything. So that's the right choice, right? I mean, there's no correct way outside of the ways that the one who made every correct way says is the right way. We can think there is, right? We can act like there's some hidden secret path that Jah's not showing us, and we just need to find it. He's keeping it from us. He's hiding some. That's not happening. That's not what we see taking place. People may suspect that. We see a lot of people trying to find knowledge in special ways, getting involved into all sorts of witchcraft, sorcery, esotericism, whatever they can do to try to find this knowledge, this light that really has just blinded them to the truth. Because light, true light, is very simple, very easy to see. That's why it's light. It's not blinding to the point where you can't see. So if you can see and it's clear and it makes sense and it fits, there you have it. If it doesn't and you're in conflict and things are taking place that don't match with your design and or your environment, these are easy ways to see if you or others are acting in accordance with Jah's will. And there is no other way. If anyone knows of a better way to live and to act and treating others the way you want to be treated and doing the things that Jah says you were made to do to live, let me know. I'm interested in the best way to live and to be happy. I just don't think we're going to be able to find a better one, a better way than the Jah way. And that's Jesus, the way, the truth, and the life. So he tells us this is how you get to the Father, and he doesn't do his own will as he's trying to help us to get to him. So I trust in Jesus. I believe in the things that were written, and they all are consistent to me with what I read historically about Jah and the people he used, like Abraham, to fulfill his will. So we got a lot out of a few verses this morning. I knew we would, because there's so much involved here with Jah's choosing of people like Abraham, and the location where Abraham was, and then the things that he did. These are very important people, some of the most, if not the most important people from the ancient world. And the things that they did in Jah's name are amazing. And with his power and his backing, we can do the same things too. So I thank you all for joining me today. It's a good way to get us started. Try to remember these texts. We are really here. We're alive. And we're not alone. I'm going to talk more about that in our Ancient Alien series, of course. So I'll get more information on that tomorrow. Yeah, I'm looking at the comments. Good comments. Looks like everyone's appreciating the text and the information we have. So I thank you all for joining me. I'll get back to you tomorrow on the Saturday show and what we're going to do and how we're going to handle the Ancient Aliens episodes. It should be good. We'll do a little bit different approach with the videos. So give me a little time to get that right. And then we will be back tomorrow working our way through Hebrews. So be sure to join me tomorrow at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you're awake at that time and you're on the East Coast like me or West Coast like me of the United States. But wherever you are, you should be able to review the video. Hopefully it'll be encouraging to you. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for another day text as we work our way through.